Mike Sempervive here with you for the next hour talking about professional wrestling, which is something we do every single day here on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network. Tune in, iHeart, American Forces Radio, CRN2, SportsByline.com, over-the-air affiliates, podcast or video streaming on Twitch or YouTube. However you're joining me today, I'd just like to say thank you. Hopefully wherever you are, it's sunny outside. Even if it's not, hopefully it's sunny inside your mind. As you can tell, the boss man's not here. He's somewhere. I don't know where. I can tell you that once this show ends, I'll be at the beach. It's one of those good hot days outside here on Delmarva. Not too humid. Not as dry as Las Vegas, though. That's where Filthy Tom Lawler lives. He'll be joining me after the break. Only 5 days from now, Filthy will be facing off against Brutus Creed during Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 11 show, and I'll get his thoughts on that. The life that this man lives. A star nationwide, from Eatonville, Washington to Brooklyn, New York. You never know where Filthy Tom Lawler might pop up. And there's a big WWE presence on that Bloodsport show. And there's probably going to be a lot of WWE presence on this show today as well. Part of the WWE roster will be traveling to Japan for 3 days of shows coming up here this weekend. SummerSlam is on the horizon, as is NXT's Great American Bash special shows that they'll be having. NXT is tonight, Brian's favorite show, and we'll run down everything they have planned so far. Raw was last night. I thought it was a good show. I hate the fact that it's 3 hours, and I'm not bullish on the Wyatt Six, but they have so much at their disposal on that side of the ledger that I know SmackDown gets a lot of the attention. It's the more watched show. It's got the Bloodline and Cody and all that, but I'd argue, and I can't believe I'm saying this after so many years of hating on it, but Raw might be the best wrestling show on TV. I know AEW fans are going to strongly disagree. We'll talk about some news with them, including some good ratings from them. And the G1 continues on over in Japan. Going to get into a lot of stuff when we get back from break. Wrestling Observer Live. Welcome back to the show. Mike Sempervive here with you. You know we do this show right here for an hour at a time every single day, but if you want us 24/7, you can try to find us on Twitter/X. I am at Sempervive. Tom is at Filthy Tom Lawler. The website is at WONF4W, and the broadcaster is at Sports Byline USA. If you were to go right now on X and talk to at Filthy Tom Lawler, you will have a better conversation with him than I am having right now. There are connection issues because, of course, there is. We're going to try to get those sorted here at the very least before we come back for the next segment. I don't think Jim Valley has these problems on Saturdays. He's on with you at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, and on Sunday, Andrew Zarian joins you beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Pacific. You can also make the wrestling news part of your day. I'd like that very much. Wherever you find your favorite podcasts, or head over to thewrestlingnews.com and at Wrestling News AV on Facebook and Twitter. Every single day of the year, everything you need to know to get your day started or get you up to date, or get you over to your favorite long-form wrestling review pod like Wrestling Observer Radio with Dave and Brian. There is a brand new episode of Wrestling Observer Radio available for subscribers of the website. $14.99 gets you everything the site has to offer, including all of the incredible archives of the audio and the back issues of the newsletters and site-exclusive podcasts and everything that goes along with that. $9.99 if you only want video live and on demand through YouTube, and $9.99 if you want select podcasts like Filthy 4 Daily, like the Figure 4 Daily shows with Lance and Filthy, Wrestling Observer Radios. Those are all available if you want them through iTunes, also at $9.99. However you want it, we got it. Just go over to WrestlingObserver.com for all the details on all of that stuff. NXT is tonight. Boss Man's favorite show, always is, on Tuesdays. Performance Center, Orlando, Florida. Oro Mensah against Ashante Adonis. Lost the V, which kind of made sense anyway, considering it's Megan Thee Stallion, and that's really enough. We don't need Ashante to do any of that. Eddie Thorpe against Lexis King. What are they feuding over exactly? Music? That's what they're feuding over, right? Like, Lexus is stuck in the 80s. He wants Whitesnake. He wants Poison. He wants all that sort of stuff. He wants to hang out with Nick Nemeth and listen to music. I don't know. Eddie Thorpe is apparently got a burgeoning DJ career with EDM music on his little Seratos. I don't know what's going on here, but they're going to have a match. Carly Bright will wrestle Ren Sinclair, who is looking to impress the No Quarter Catch crew. I don't know who the National Wrestling Alliance really has right now under their employ. I know Kerry Morton is there. There's a handful of people that are over there. They had Maddie Renkowski, and, you know, it's not like the level that it was at where when they would lose Ricky Starks and LA Knight and Mercedes, there were a ton of people, not Mercedes Moné, but the former the current ROH wrestler. But, like, you know, losing Maddie Renkowski was a big deal because obviously she's got a huge personality, and Tavion Heights is going to be gone for some time because he's going to be going over to Japan along with Josh Briggs for this N1 Victory tournament. So they're adding a new twist into the mix, and what an NXT twist it is by involving bringing a girl into the club, and we'll see how this affects her and everybody's relationship in the group. Brooks Jensen against Josh Briggs in a no disqualification match, and I would assume this is going to be the write-off for Josh Briggs. I would assume, again, I've been talking about this now for the last couple of days, that Sean Spears, I feel as though, is going to get involved in this, and maybe they can injure Josh Briggs and send him along his way, and then we can have Brooks Jensen and Sean Spears together as a team. I don't know if it's the best thing in the world, but it may actually make Brooks Jensen stand out in the long run. As I mentioned, the N1 Victory Tour begins on August 4th. Josh Briggs and Tavion Heights are both scheduled to be a part of that. Darby Allin spoke recently. I don't know about today, but that's when it was posted up to the website. He believes that the current day AEW product is a huge improvement over the promotion's early years. Allen told Uprocks, "The shows are so much better. I feel like you kind of have to throw crap at the wall and see what sticks for the first few years." He also feels another reason why is because the wrestlers that he considered mid or worse are gone. He added, "To get on Dynamite, you really have to be good. It's no longer, oh, I'm friends with this guy, so I'm going to have to give him a handout and just put him on the show." It's not about that anymore. You got to put up, you got to perform, and you got to actually bust your ass, or you're not going to get on the show. And a lot of the people that were not good were weeded out in the first couple of years. Doesn't actually give any names in any of that. So after launching in October of 2019, Dynamite celebrated its 250th episode last week. Dynamite is tomorrow night on TBS from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. The majority of the show will be blood and guts, AEW's War Games style match. The Young Bucks, Jack Perry, Kazuchika Okada, and the Hangman against the acclaimed Darby Allin, ROH World Champion Mark Briscoe, and AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland. Last Saturday on Collision, for those of you who saw that show, Briscoe cut a promo on Roderick Strong leading into their world title match at Death Before Dishonor this coming Friday. Time to take that belt off of Mark Briscoe. Go ahead. Put it on a former ROH World Champion. I believe he was, at least. I know he was a TV champion multiple times, but put it on Roderick Strong. The Kingdom is there anyway. Bennett and Taven are the ROH World Tag Team Champions. Go ahead and do that bit over there. It's probably for the best that Roderick Strong disappears for a while off the AEW main roster. I mean, unless Adam Cole is there, I mean, you kind of have done everything that you're going to do with him. He's not going to be involved in any type of way with MJF or anything like that. At least I hope that wouldn't be the case. So go ahead, move him over to ROH and move Mark Briscoe over to the main AEW roster. You need him. You need the promos every week. You need to do something good with him. I'd like to see that. Also coming up, Chris Jericho against Minoru Suzuki with the Learning Tree banned from ringside. I could have sworn we've had Chris Jericho and Minoru Suzuki in the ring with each other one-on-one. It just felt that way. And that's not the case. If you look back, it's been all tag team matches, multiple person matches that they've been in the ring with each other. And many of those times with Sammy Guevara. And I would assume because the Learning Tree is banned from ringside that Sammy is going to play some part in the finish tonight. But I don't know. As far as them having this one-on-one match, I don't want to say I'm over Minoru Suzuki, but something about Jericho and Suzuki, it feels old even though it's a new match that hasn't happened before. Dr. Britt Baker against Hikaru Shida in Baker's first match since September 16th. We've got Hikaru Shida now showing a little bit of an edge. Accidentally broke Sky Blue's ankle with her dive last week on Collision, then cut a heel promo saying she wanted competition and she was going to face off against Britt Baker. So there you go. The Glamour, Mariah May, will make her wrestling debut. It is not the glamorous one. It's not the glamorous. It's the Glamour, which I assume is because that's all they could trademark. I guess. I have absolutely no idea, but the Glamour, Mariah May. And International Champion MJF is also going to cut a promo that hopefully will be interrupted by Will Ospreay, because those guys going back and forth with each other is always money. So hopefully it's a good show. They had a good rating last week. After we get back from break, we'll get into some of those ratings, get into a deal they also made with the Southland Conference. And hopefully Filthy can join us, because I want to see how many of the teams that he can name in the Southland Conference. We'll be back. Wrestling Observer Live. Back on the show, Wrestling Observer Live, crisis averted. Filthy Tom Lawler is joining us right now. You cannot see this, radio listeners or podcast listeners, but if you're watching on video, Lawler Lady 24. It wasn't even a chick.
Choke.
Oh, a choke.
Good God.
And look, it's a very small screen you're in right now for me, all right?
That's a massive difference in what the shirt says. It wasn't even a choke, is what it says.
You want to explain that to everybody here?
Yeah, it's in reference to those of you, the limited amount of people out there who probably train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or another grappling art. It's in reference to people who get guillotined or face cranked and tap out and they go, it was more of a crank. It wasn't even a choke, as kind of a detriment to your technique and ability to defeat them.
Oh, really? Now, does anyone actually ever listen to that? And I guess they do if it's passed around so much, or is it just a knee-jerk reaction that gets laughed at every time?
It happens pretty common, actually.
Now, do you
a way to discredit somebody's grappling skills?
Now, do you plan on using any face cranks or possibly illegal fish hooks against Brutus Creed here coming up this Sunday at Bloodsport 11 here? Because you haven't been on this show since that fight has been announced. You and Brutus Creed as part of this show. And as far as I go, it's the main event, obviously.
I'm going to bring everything I have, Mike, whether it's fish hooks, punches, cross faces, neck cranks, wizardry. We saw he can't hang with the Wyatt Six last night. I didn't see him out there defending Chad Gable, so maybe I'll bring a little bit of wizardry and magic to the ring. Who knows?
Sorcerer Tom Lawler?
No, probably not. It is blood sport. I don't think you're going to get the sorcerer, Tom Lawler.
Matt Mikowski and Julius Creed, Charlie Dempsey, and Hoyce Isaacs. What your former protege, your former partner, your former homie in Team Filthy. He's going out there against Charlie Dempsey. You think of that one?
Yeah. My prediction is that Hoyce loses if I was a betting man. If I was in his corner, perhaps he'd have a chance. Matt Mikowski and I also have some history. Past training partners, actually. Years ago. Like 15 years ago. Yeah. 15 years ago, Matt and I used to train together a little bit. We faced off against each other. We've teamed with each other, so... How apropos is it that he gets the other Creed brother and I get to welcome Brutus?
I wish there were a little bit of gimmicks on this show. And I know it's not about gimmicks. It's about blood sport, damn it. But Homicide and Mike Santana in a bodega fight of some kind where you just lock them in a bodega and just have them go at it, just broken bottles and craziness everywhere. That would be fantastic.
Chili cheese Fritos.
Chopped cheeses getting thrown about and whatnot.
Empanadas left and right.
Miyu Yamashita and Shayna Baszler. Has Miyu Yamashita ever been on one of these shows? I like that fight too. That's a different matchup.
Can you do me a favor and name a bad match on this show real quick? Because they just seem to be getting better and better, as you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, here's the other two that have been announced so far: Jody Threat and Masha Slamovich, and I believe that's Jody Threat's first shot on the show, and Speedball Mike Bailey against Akira.
Yeah, Timothy Thatcher versus Josh Woods.
Uh-huh.
I have never seen a bad Masha Slamovich match.
No.
I'm trying to think. I have seen a lot of Masha Slamovich on independent shows, and I'm trying to think of a time when she didn't have a good match. Same with Miyu Yamashita.
Yeah.
Mike Bailey.
Well, one thing I like about...
I'm probably the worst guy on the show. Now that I think about it.
So wait a second. Are you thinking now that maybe they booked you to be the Rusty Brooks? They booked you to be Barry Horowitz here to come in and look at the lights here against
One
Brutus
of the
Creed?
Mulkeys.
Oh my! You're James Buster Douglas at the Tokyo Dome right now. That's what they think.
Hey,
about
well,
you.
that's fine. If I'm James Buster Douglas at the Tokyo Dome, I'll take that. We know how that turned out. But
just don't be. James
I mean,
Buster
I
Douglas
hope.
at the
Listen,
Holyfield fight.
I hope Josh Barnett didn't look at this card, look at Brutus Creed, and go like, this is my new Bob Sapp.
Oh no!
This is how we're doing it. We're throwing guys out there.
Well, Luke, if that's the case,
after I face him, he's gonna have to face like 100. He's gonna have to face 130-pound guy like Bob Sapp. Got thrown Tamara. Poor Tamara.
Well, there was a thing in Japan, like you have a shot to win by disqualification. Remember, they used to hang that on a lot of foreigners, a lot of guys. Sapp lost by DQ. This person lost by cut stop. There was always something where they would hang a defeat on somebody.
Or, coincidentally, or not coincidentally, that wouldn't be the correct term, but they would also dish out yellow and red cards left and right to take money back for the promotion.
Rulon Gardner.
Well,
that was one of the great examples of you got a U.S. Olympian who goes over this great story, the snowmobile, all that stuff happens. He's going to have his first MMA fight. He goes over there. They yellow carded him, and again, the loss of money kind of one of the things I'm sure that soured him on MMA. I'm sure there were several things, but cutting his money was certainly one.
Yeah, Rulon Gardner defeated Yoshida, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's his name. In his first and only MMA fight.
Mm-hmm. Now, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on the subject of Rulon Gardner, before we move away,
yes.
We do have the Olympics coming up soon in a week or two, so don't forget the great USA freestyle wrestling team, men's and women's, that will have competing on NBC, on Peacock, all over the place in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I covered that for the site once. Long story, though. We'll get back to that. AEW and the Southland Conference got together. Now, Tom, unless you're a degenerate gambler, you probably have no idea what the Southland Conference is. They are 12 schools very close to each other in Texas and Louisiana. And AEW and the conference announced on Monday that they'll be teaming up to provide custom title belts to all of the winners of their conference tournaments. And as part of the deal, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler will have a special message even on Wednesday during the Southland Football Opening Drive, which streams at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. WWE has these types of deals. They have them with the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL. They just signed one with them. They have the Southeastern Conference. They have the Big Ten Conference. They have a lot of big stuff. Kind of feels like maybe AEW is getting in on this a little bit late here, but the Southland Conference, I guess they're going to get some shine out of this. Can you name any of the schools in the Southland Conference?
Without looking on Wikipedia?
Yes. Even if you're close on some of these, I think I might give you a point.
No, even looking at Wikipedia, I'm not familiar with any of these schools. Should I name them?
You don't know anything about the University of Texas Rio Grande? Rio Grande Valley?
No. What about Incarnate Word?
No.
The Incarnate Word Cardinals.
It's the University of the Incarnate Word. Yeah, Texas A&M Commerce.
The Nichols Colonels. McNeese. I believe I actually may have heard of McNeese. Maybe not.
Yeah, Lamar.
No. Odom?
No, or Jackson. That's the
Gant,
first thing I always think of.
The great deadlifter?
No.
No.
Yeah, Houston Christian, which apparently underwent a facelift from Houston Baptist a couple years ago. So you got them. So you never know what could happen here in the future. FTR could show up alongside Tony Khan when Stephen F. Austin wins the National Women's Diving Championship in Division III or something like that, and they're going to get a belt out of the deal. So good for them.
Hey, anything that gets the AEW name out there in the media like this, I think it's good, right? We saw some news stories pick up on Tony Khan and the neck brace. That was kind of cool. So
yeah, but they can never maintain anything. You know, Bootleg Kev, you know, is a podcast that hip hop people know, and you know, if you look at it again, growing, but it's one of those things that was out there, and Swerve was on there, and there was nothing. You know, he goes to these places and kind of seems to do his own media, or some people will be in certain places and they don't push it. And to me, that's important that they do push it, not necessarily for their fan base, their hardcore fans, but again, just putting it out there and trying to saturate people with the fact that they exist, especially as WWE just is such a monster right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're not going to have WWE has all the advantages going in, right? And AEW has to overcome these things. And, you know, it's an uphill battle. And now they're doing it in the hill country in Texas.
They are indeed, and it's been an uphill battle when it's come to ratings this year for AEW, but they've been getting some good news. They got good news last week for Dynamite. They got some good news this week for Collision. Let you know what that is and get into a whole lot more when we get back. Wrestling Observer Live. Sempervive and Filthy Tom Lawler here with you, Wrestling Observer Live. Going to try to get to as much of the Raw review as I can, but ratings better. Well, not for Rampage, but who cares? It's Rampage. Throw that out. They were down 15% this week. SmackDown was down a negligible amount, did very well last Friday. And then AEW Collision did very well by its standards. 472,000 viewers, up 30.4% from last week. Largest total audience since May 18th, and is Collision's fourth largest viewership of the year to date. The show drew a .15 in the 18 to 49-year-old demo, up 7% from last week, and ties the second highest rating the show has done in that category for the entire year. So bodes well for Wednesday's Dynamite, which finally got out of the doldrums last week because of MJF and Will Ospreay. 795,000 viewers. That match, I don't think, was ever below anywhere near like 840,000 or something like that. They need to kill off the post-match or the post-show overrun, which actually was the only thing under 700,000 last week. Get rid of the... Am I wrong, Filthy? If the overrun is actually declining and doesn't benefit you at all, wouldn't you say get rid of it?
You already have 5 hours of programming during the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And if things were hot or you had a reason to go over, then fine.
No. I think the only reason that you go over is if you're head-to-head. I think that's the only time it makes sense. I don't need to watch 2 hours and 15 minutes of wrestling when there's going to be another 3 hours a few days later that I should be paying attention to, conceivably.
There's multiple days that are hours long of the G1. Not going to get into it because, well, we don't have time to get into it. It's time for the world-famous Monday Night Raw. Actually, no, it's not. We have to lead into the Raw review. Look, we'll get to what we can with it, but did you see Rikishi is pissed?
Yes, I did.
So everybody up on the website right now, there's a story up there where Rikishi has got his own podcast, and he is not happy with the treatment of his son, Jey Uso. Quote, "Why do you not push or give the most popular babyface in my eyes, be it my son or not? If the Yeet Master or the Yeet Man is over, whatever is the problem, not giving this guy, some type of title or something." That's what he asked on the show. "It would only be good for business, wouldn't it?" Rikishi continued to address Uso's booking and his concerns regarding his son's storyline heading into SummerSlam by saying, quote, "I get hot when I'm talking about this because whether it's my son or somebody else, the kid worked hard. They conquered the tag team. What else is there to do now? He breaks it off with Yeet. He does his thing here, and it's not like they're giving the gas pedal to him." Before I go on, what do you think about Rikishi being very protective of his son?
Well, what I will
Besides
say... Besides
him somehow believing it's real.
Rikishi said that he would go to bat for anybody in this situation, even if it wasn't his son. Well, I haven't heard him do that for anybody else, so...
well, you haven't listened to the podcast enough, I guess. You know?
I guess not. I don't know. I mean, sure, you could do more with Jey Uso, but to go from... Think about it. To go from being a tag guy, and not only that, a tag team made up of twins, in which I don't think there's ever been a case in which one guy has broken out and become a single star in a twin tag team before. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we had, I guess, Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, and they would have been the most successful ones, right? So I think Jey Uso has done a phenomenal job.
Mulkey was way over than Bill Mulkey. That's,
I think Jey Uso's done a great job moving up the card. But there's a ton of guys that deserve title opportunities, and I mean, I'm sure he's going to get one in due time. You know, I think it looks like maybe he and Sami Zayn, after Sami Zayn gets murdered by Braun Breaker at SummerSlam, maybe him and Sami Zayn will get a shot at the Judgment Day in a return match for the tag titles.
That seems to be one of Rikishi's problems, though, is the fact that he's entering into this. He says, quote, "SummerSlam, where's Yeet? I don't know. Let's write him in like he likes mommy. That's the best those writers got? Let's write this guy into a relationship with mommy? What are y'all trying to do? Break his marriage up? You can't put him in a good storyline, so what are you going to do now? God forbid you guys try to tell him or tell her to tongue kiss each other on Raw. That better not happen. Is he jumping the gun on this?
Hey, maybe he knows more than we do. But
maybe
it's very odd to hear somebody upset with their son being inserted into the top storyline on the show that they are on. But, hey, I understand. Hey, he's looking at the past history, and things usually don't turn out so great for couples when you have other people inserted into their love storylines. So
that's
I
always
understand
been the
his
wrestling
trepidation.
You know, bring in your wife, you're going to lose your wife, your significant other. But Monday Night Raw, Jey Uso was there. Gunther opened the show by coming down to the ring and cutting a promo. Damian Priest, he ran him down again. He came out immediately, didn't say a word, just did what he should have done, which is punch Gunther right in the face. They started going back and forth with each other, with the referees and security breaking them up. Then after a commercial break, they were still fighting. Priest attacked him again. Adam Pearce and the security was able to get him separated, which led in to the number one contendership for Sami Zayn's Intercontinental title, Braun Breaker against Ilya Dragunov. As Tom mentioned, Braun Breaker won this match. I mean, these two guys are perfect for each other. I mean, do you like the Breakensteiner? That's what they're calling it now?
Braun Breaker is great at killing guys, and there's perhaps no one better on the planet than getting killed than Ilya Dragunov. He's right up there with that Bloodsport lineup. I don't know that I've ever seen a bad Ilya Dragunov match. Some people online claimed that they did a few times, but I still haven't seen it happen. He can go from having a dead crowd to having them rabid by the end of his performance. And, I mean, maybe my favorite guy to watch in the entire world right now.
Did you like the finish? Dragunov dove off the apron to the outside. Breaker speared him. Cole immediately started talking about Dragunov hitting his head on the back of the ring apron, so the referee called it off, awarded the win to Braun. They didn't like it, although they still cheered Braun, when he was announced as the victor. I mean, it did what it needed to do, I guess. They want to protect Ilya Dragunov.
By murdering him on the floor and having him taken out by the refs.
But he can say when he's going like this that you never pinned me, Braun. You know what I mean? You could always go back to that at some point, especially maybe if, again, him and Gunther are going to have to get into it at some point, right? Not yet, but it's coming. You know it.
Well, Ilya Dragunov's going to need some wins before he gets up there to face Gunther, the world champion.
No, but you start by not losing. That's what they had going on there.
They had a phenomenal match. What was it? Maybe a month ago, too. Much in the same vein of this one, where like the crowd's not too into it to begin, and then as these guys are wrestling, they just can't help themselves but to go crazy for it.
They're unsinkable, and Braun is so good already with how he reacts, and it just the whole thing. They are perfectly made for each other. Got to move on here. Sonya Deville defeated Lyra Valkyria in about 8 minutes. Before this, Rhea addressed the Judgment Day minus Priest. She wanted some answers. She didn't get the answers that she wanted. She just wanted everybody to stay away from Jey Uso. Then it was time for confessions with Uncle Howdy. This time around, it was Nikki Cross. She was ignored and suffered in solitude. Howdy told her to take a look at herself, so she screamed, and it ended. It was very quick, this one. Any thoughts on either this or the fact that Jelly Roll will be at SummerSlam?
I'm a big Jelly Roll fan, so I was happy to hear that. The hate goes on.
Do you believe he should be attacked by the Wyatt Six during his concert performance? You think he could do something with that?
I'd be worried for his health.
I look at him and I'm worried for his health now. But CM Punk then came out for an in-ring promo. This segment crossed into the top of the hour. Fired up Punk said he saw a surgeon on Saturday, told him he was cleared. So now that he wanted to fight Drew, and he demanded Drew come out and get the beating that he deserved. Drew walked out, of course, faked like he was going to fight, then said no. Punk went after him. Security broke him up. Drew held up his bracelet, really pissed Punk off. Then Adam Pearce stormed out, told Punk that Drew is leaving something out of the story about not wanting to fight for a night, and that is that they have made the match official for SummerSlam. Pearce adds if there's any physicality between the two, the match is off, and whoever throws the first punch is suspended indefinitely. He then introduces the special guest referee, who is Seth Rollins, who came out twirling around in a long baby blue jacket in the front and
it was a blouse.
No, in the back it was a women's cutoff blouse. In the front it was like a long duster jacket. What the hell is that?
I have no answers for you.
Can you buy that off the rack
know.
somewhere? Is that available in Vegas? Can you go to Vegas and get something like that?
I don't think that's available anywhere on this planet besides Seth Rollins' closet.
Sami Zayn, long story short, cut a promo on Braun Breaker, skipping ahead some things on the show here, including a lot of Judgment Day drama, which built up to the end. But Sami Zayn cut a promo on being ready for Braun Breaker at SummerSlam. During it, the old ruckus was heard, and he runs over, and the Judgment Day is beating up on Jay and makes the save. What led into this was the fact that it seemed to me as if Finn Balor was setting up Dominic Mysterio to just happen to walk past Liv Morgan, which of course Carlito spilled the beans on later on, which really pissed off Rhea. What pisses me off is seeing Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain always out there in the mix. They beat Xavier Woods, Tozawa, and Otis, Tom. Any thoughts on this or the fact that Chad Gable is so petty that he wanted after the match for Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine to stay in the ring in order to laugh at them? That's a level of petty that I can really appreciate.
He did want Otis back in the fold. He said, look, the Wyatt Six is not only after us, but they're after you, and you guys could use some backup. And Otis, not into it.
No. Said no. They got into it. Otis actually grabbed Chad, which led to the Creeds, turning up the heat on him. So it was almost there for Otis to lay out Chad, but it didn't happen. The Creeds were about to beat on Otis outside the ring with chairs. When the lights went out, it became spooky time. The Wyatt Six came out on the ramp as Uncle Howdy appeared behind Chad Gable in the ring and then laid him out with the Sister Abigail.
If they hadn't got to those Creeds, I would have. I was on my way out there to take Brutus down.
Well, you got held up by Liv Morgan up in the stands. We'll get to that in
she stole my shorts.
In a minute here. Bronson Reed against Pete Dunne was supposed to happen, but Sheamus came out, beat up Dunne. That led to Sheamus and Bronson Reed brawling. Dunne got back into it. Whole thing ended with Sheamus KOing Reed with the Brogue Kick. So all three of them should face each other at SummerSlam. Then Rhea yelled at the Judgment Day about attacking Jay. After a break, this is where Carlito spilled the beans. She grabbed Dominic by the ear, dragged him to the ring, and said, Rhea, if you want to, or Liv, if you want him, come get him. And Liv goes out there in her very short shorts, cuts a promo from way in the crowd, Tom, and she thinks that Dom is going to say, I love you, but instead he screams, I hate you, Liv, you're stupid. Are you deaf? And then something in Spanish, and then, I don't like you, you've ruined my life, over and over again. Then more Spanish, and then, I can't stand you, you've ruined everything for me. And then he finished off and trailed off in more Spanish. So, are you involved and invested into this whole thing?
Oh, and then at the end, Rhea grabs him by the face, whispers some sweet nothings into his ear, and then licked him.
Licked his face. Yeah, got Verklempt there saying that, just like Michael Cole did when he was trying to say it. Liv Morgan stormed away in tears. And that was actually time damn near for the main event, like it is for this show, which we'll get to when we get back from break. Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, Filthy Tom Lawler here with you, stumbling through this Raw review, trying to go fast with it. Zoe Stark faces Zelina Vega. They were a bunch of 9-minute matches on this show. This was one of them. They all had commercial breaks in them. This did. And Zelina Vega got the win over Zoe Stark.
Mike,
yeah?
Did you see the celebration symbol that this team did?
No.
Sonya, Zoe, and Shayna.
I mean, I remember they were standing there in the ring, but I don't remember what their celebration was. What was it?
They all put their... You just got to find a picture. I don't feel right saying it over there.
Another awesome Gunther video package hyping himself up and running down Damian Priest as well as the rest of the division aired. There was some extra on there for Seth Rollins, I noticed during that whole thing, and then it was time for the main event. Jey Uso and Sami Zayn defeated Finn Balor and JD McDonough in about 17 minutes. Carlito and Dom got involved during the match. Sami hit the haluva kick on JD, followed by Jay hitting the frog splash for the pin. They made a big deal out of the fact that it was a non-title match and the champions lost. And as you mentioned, Braun Breaker's going to beat Sami Zayn. He killed him with a spear after the match, slid away from Jey Uso. So, yeah, hard for me to believe that he's not going to be the Intercontinental Champion. And the way that Rhea Ripley was talking about the fact that the Judgment Day is involved with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, they're probably going to be involved in the tag picture. I'll put an exclamation point on this.
Yeah, put a frame on that picture.
Exactly. Bloodsport 11 coming up Sunday, July 28th. Filthy Tom Lawler, Brutus Creed. You can watch this on Triller TV. Don't worry, everybody. Big Boss Man Brian Alvarez will be back tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be or not. I'm going to the beach. Bye.